that one. Okay, it's recording.
Oh, Jenny. Hello, sorry. I thought it was just you and Jenny.
Just as I press record, like Rob's big face in the. Brilliant.
Give everybody a laugh anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome to our session this evening, Jo. I'm Jenny. I'll do a kind of introduction as if we were, yeah. So I'm Jenny and I work for MyPlace, Lancashire Wildlife Trust, and we run a project. MyPlace is a project that is helping people boost their well-being and employability skills and give people something to do to connect with people and with nature. And we work across Lancashire and Greater Manchester. And the main thing we do is run free weekly sessions for small groups of people to kind of get together and do some good stuff. And Sally is my volunteer, so she's been volunteering for a couple of years. Do you want to just give a bit of an overview about what your sort of MyPlace situation, Sally, if you don't mind?
I was a participant on MyPlace for about 6 months, and then became a volunteer afterwards, so I could continue because I think it's brilliant. And yeah, I've really benefited as a participant because I was feeling pretty isolated. So it's a really good way of getting to know people and feeling less isolated, especially now during lockdown.
Thank you. Yeah, so basically up until March 2020, we were running outside sessions throughout the week across Lancashire, like I said, in different green spaces. So places like Avon Park in Preston or Brockholes Nature Reserve, Witton Park in Blackburn, Bacup. In Bacup we worked in Stubbley Guard Park, I think it is, and various other places around Lancashire. And we would just do anything that we could that would improve the environment, help people learn about nature and wildlife, and also, like I say, connect with each other. So we worked with small groups of people up to about 8 or 9 participants, usually a couple of volunteers in each group, and sessions lasted about 3 hours long. And we do different activities. So there'd be lots of things like growing stuff, planting trees, planting hedges, planting flowers. There'd be making stuff out of wood. So using tools to make stuff out of pallet furniture or planters so we can plant them up. We would go for walks, so lots of walks along the canals or around the parks and seeing what we could see. And we did lots of bushcraft stuff, so cooking food over fires, foraging for blackberries and then making blackberry coulis and that kind of stuff, making pancakes, pancake day, which we've missed this year. Has been a
Oh no.
Definitely felt that this year. And learning kind of bushcraft skills as well. And none of us are experts in kind of you don't have to be an expert to be part of the project in any way. You're there to learn together and kind of pick up new skills, and all the sessions are really person-centered, so we make sure that we tailor them to the group's needs and to the individual's needs, and we take on board what their own skills are. So if people have got certain skills or certain desires that they want to learn more about, we'll make sure that we try and incorporate that as well. So in March 2020, obviously the world went bonkers. We moved ourselves online, which was a completely ridiculous thing, but also has worked really well actually. So for the first 6 months of lockdown 1, we were online. Sessions lasted an hour and a half, and staff would basically run a session themed around a certain aspect of nature or environment or wildlife, or just about well-being. Small groups of people in the room, again using Zoom, so maximum 8 participants usually, something like that. A lead volunteer and a staff member. One of the brilliant things about the online sessions was that they really help people actually get to know each other, because you kind of you get to know people's houses and you get to know people, what they look like, and it's less. People have their cameras off. You can have the cameras off. That's fine. But it was a really nice way of getting to know other people quite well, and it worked really well. And people were very open about how they were feeling, and what they were struggling with, or what they were doing well with during lockdown. So after lockdown 1 finished, some of us went back outside, but we also continued the online offer for an awful lot as a thing, because we realised that it was a really important offer that enabled us to kind of meet and enabled us to work with more people. So previously, all of our sessions had pretty much been during the week, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. But suddenly we were able to work with people who were working. So we do evening sessions. We were able to work with people who didn't want to leave the house and didn't feel competent to leave the house. People who were shielding, didn't want to leave the house, etc. So lots of really good reasons. People who maybe lived in an area where we weren't running an outside hub, we could suddenly work with them. They could join a hub. So the online offers have been actually really successful, and obviously at the moment we're back inside mostly. So each session, regardless whether it's online or outside, is we work towards the 5 ways to wellbeing. I don't know whether, Jo, have you heard about the 5 ways?
Yeah, it's something we've been covering in our group. I've sort of introduced those. So we're looking at this month. We're looking at connection. Nice. Is the sort of theme. But yeah, I know you sort of had a look at some of the work you were doing, and it looked quite it looked like it was a good sort of link.
Yeah, we're a firm believer in them. Basically, we think that they fit very nicely in with our ethos and what we do on sessions. I'm just going to show you a picture just to remind everyone about what they are. Can you guys see that?
It says it's started screen sharing. It's thinking about it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go.
So this is our little picture to remind everyone what they all are, and it does all of our sessions naturally kind of fit in with the 5 ways really well. And we're a firm, like I say, we're a firm believer in them. We like to get people to reflect on how they've been using them during the week. So we'll encourage people to talk about if they've been doing anything particular to do with the 5 ways that week, or whether they sometimes keep journals, or kind of try and reflect back on what they've done. And we find that it helps people just helps with their well-being, which is what they're designed to do.
Yeah, I know with our team, my team at work, we've got this system like a star chart. So you give yourself a star for everything you do against one of those well-being things every day. So just do something for yourself every day.
Yeah.
And just credit yourself for the things that you are able to do.
Brilliant.
So when we have a team meeting once a week, we say, "Oh yes, this is what I managed to do this week." Aren't I great?
Yeah. That's exactly it. So the other thing. So apart from the other thing we try to encourage people to do a lot, especially with the online sessions, is even if they can't get out to one of our practical sessions, or they don't want to get out to one of our practical sessions for the time being, for various reasons, we'll try and encourage them to get out of the house and go for a little walk at least once a day, even if it's only for 10 minutes, and even if it's only down to the end of the driveway, or to just go and absorb the outside air for a little bit, just to sort of, because we really believe that being outside is a really good thing for your well-being.
Because there's a lot of studies now saying that this ecotherapy there's a lot of evidence being built up to say that being in the outdoors in the natural world is really beneficial for your well-being and general health, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what we find. It's part. I'm sure there's lots of science behind it, but I think one of the things I think about it is that actually, if you're outside battling with the elements, even if the elements are actually being kind to you that day and it's really sunny, you're not thinking about the thing that's bothering you. You're more absorbed by the fact that the sun's on your face, or the wind's in your hair, or it's raining, or you're looking up at the sky or something, even if it's only for a few minutes. But it just kind of stressing almost about those other things sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a course on mindfulness at the moment, and one of the things it says is actually to quiet your mind is just focus on something from your senses. So it's a lot easier to connect with your senses when you're outdoors. So that hearing, that smell, that sight, that sound, whatever, so I think there's definitely a lot in there, so that sort of supports that.
And one of the things that we did actually recently, and Sal were able to sort of back me up on this, a couple of weeks ago for one of my Wednesday session, we'd been inside since Christmas, and we're all a bit frustrated and want to go back out and start being outside again, but we were all feeling a bit fed up, and it was lockdown 2-3 is hard, and it's like And so we all decided that we were going to go for a walk together, but separately. So the morning of the session, we made a vow to each other that we were going to go and do at least a 20-minute walk in our, outside, and do some kind of, either film it or take some photos or something to sort of, not no one had to prove it, but to kind of, it would make you kind of do it. And then we come back, and on the session we shared the photos and the kind of some of the videos, and just people shared their experience, and it was really good, wasn't it, Sally? It was really, it was a nice way of connecting with each other. Some of the participants were sort of saying, one of the nice things about it was knowing that other people were outside at that time. So even if you weren't together, but you were actually all kind of, you were connecting in a kind of really, really remote way.
Yeah, so you're actually all doing the same thing at the same time, even though you're not together. So you get a sense of you're all heading, you're all sort of trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it worked really well. And actually, I think we did it the week after. We sort of said we'd try and do it again, and I think it's something we will try and continue to do while we're inside, because it was just a nice thing. And then it makes when we get back outside, it'll be just a major bonus. Like, oh, this is great. So
yeah. So at the moment, you are running some a limited amount of sessions where people are actually like a small number of volunteers are actually working together in a socially distanced way outside. Is that correct?
We are. Yes and no. Yes, there are whatever. According to government guidelines, our sessions fall under the therapeutic arm, so we are allowed to be outside. So for some of the groups across the county, they are actually they are meeting outside. But most of the groups have gone inside, and that's partly it depended a little bit on where the groups met. So,
Yeah.
for example, I run a session at Leyland, in Worden Park in Leyland. We all felt that it was a bit too public, and it was a bit, and people might question why there's a group of people meeting together. So we didn't really want to kind of, and also the park's although it's big, it's also been really busy.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of lockdown, we decided we would stay inside, and the same, the Brockholes thing was a similar kind of thing. There's a few people in the group that were a bit nervous about coming out because they had elderly parents, that kind of thing. So, but the Brockholes sessions should be going back outside next week, because most of the group's parents have been vaccinated. Other people in the group have been vaccinated. We're feeling like things are a bit calmer in terms of COVID, and we are able to social distance. So So
it sounds like you're being, you've got those protections in place, and you're being cautious. You've been almost overcautious, really.
Well, basically. So it's basically 2 meters. So two meters distances. Most of the time.
Yeah.
So we can't do that. We ask people to wear a mask unless they're, exempt. We're running activities that are where you don't need to use a lot of resources, so tools or things like that, so that we don't have to do a lot of touching, and we're making sure we clean things in between and that kind of stuff. And we ran about 3 months worth of outside sessions before Christmas, and it worked really well, actually, especially at Brockholes. So it is happening, and it will be. And as the month progresses and March happens, more and more of our sessions will be going back outside. But there will always be the opportunity for people who want to stay inside. They can stay inside. Our sessions are also, just to let you know, they're age specific. So if we're loosely 11 to 24-year-olds, although generally it's kind of more 16 plus, but we can take under 16s, and 25 plus. But what will happen is if we get people who, I don't know, who say they're 22 and the only group available to them has got lots of 11-year-olds in, we would offer them the chance to go with the adults, because and vice versa. So if there was somebody who was 26 and didn't want to be with a load of old 40-year-olds, we would offer them the chance to go younger. So kind of a bit flexible in that way.
Do you still have the Men in Sheds group that you were running?
Unfortunately not. That funding came but there are we have links with other organisations who are doing some other things, and it is something we are looking to do again. In terms of, sometimes people worry about how they can how accessible the sessions might be, or whether they have to be fit or anything like that, and the answer is completely no. Basically, it's a very chilled out session. So
because one of the issues our members with dyspraxia have is clumsiness, just generally not knowing what your body's doing. So sometimes for some members there might be this fear of using tools they haven't used before and hurting themselves or looking like a bit of an idiot in front of people.
Yeah.
I mean, which I do all the time. So, so
Yeah,
what would you sort of say to somebody who had those sort of concerns, maybe?
Yeah, there's just but basically what would happen. The way it would work is somebody would refer themselves, or somebody would refer somebody to me. I would then, and on the referral form, it asks for certain information, and you can fill it in if you want to. You can be as honest as you want to be about your situation. And then basically we would have a chat. Me and the person would have a chat, either probably over Zoom at the moment, but depending on how we could do a face-to-face if they felt more comfortable doing that. And we'd figure it out. We'd basically say, right, what would you, what are you worried about? What's your kind of, what's your feelings? And then we would hopefully be able to reassure them and say that there's absolutely no problems with any kind of, there's no pressure in any sessions. People can take part as much as they want to. They can not do things if they don't like them. They can try new things. Nobody, I mean, I think this is true, Sally, nobody judges anybody in the sessions.
Not at all. And the tools we use are very basic. Not like we're using anything very complicated, or we're not hacking things up with chainsaws. We're basically chopping a few with a pair of loppers. Chopping a few sticks well away from other people. So the health and safety in general is not huge, and there's no pressure at all.
Yeah. And we always do a tools talk before we use a tool, so we teach everyone how to use the tool, and then we'll ask the people that have been in the group for longer to kind of take part in those tools talks to give them confidence about public speaking. So again, people may not want to do that at the beginning, that's absolutely fine, but as people get more confident in the group, then we might ask them to kind of just step out of their comfort zone a little bit and take some responsibility, and just make them sort of, when you I don't know about you guys, well, I think when you achieve something, it makes you feel good, so it's that kind of positive.
Yeah, and I think it's trying out a new skill in a friendly environment. So something like just speaking to a group of people is terrifying for some people, and it's like, but that gives you the skills and confidence, and it's something maybe if you're looking for work you could put on your CV and say, I've given instructions to a group of people on how to use this.
Exactly, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Exactly it. Good communication in that way, team building. We're always working as a team. I mean, even if we're socially distanced, we're still working as a team. We're still kind of supporting each other. Before Christmas, we started making some stuff out of pallets, and because of the social distancing situation, we all got our own pallets and made our own things. But the process, so we all started off with our own pallet and then stripped the pallet, and then we sort of decided each of us decided what we were going to do, and then we all sort of supported each other doing it. So each person at the end had their own thing, but it was very much supported by each other, and kind of skills were shared and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's I mean, I can see why people would feel daunted. The other thing is that people can try it, so they can either come for an online session or an outside session without having to sign up to the project before they there's that.
Oh, brilliant.
So if you don't want to do it, that's absolutely fine. And I think, like I say, people don't have to take part in certain, if there's stuff that you don't want to do, just tell me, and don't have to do it. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
No mind. And again, it's sort of trying to play to people's strengths. So if people have got particular interests, or things they might want to share with other people, we'll encourage that really.
Yeah.
And the fitness thing, again, the sessions don't last very long. The walking thing is very, very short, maximum of a mile, and that's unlikely. But and it's mostly flat. And if it's not, again, all that sort. If we ever go on a bit more of a walk somewhere a bit further along, we'd always just make sure that everyone's okay with that. Do a risk assessment, all that kind of thing. So it's all very safe and well managed. Hopefully, we normally we'd have a tea break.
Very important.
They're very important, and it's been massively missed, actually. We're not allowed, but even on our online sessions we have a break, because biscuits are very important in our world. So we would sort of give everyone 5 minutes off the screen if they were online, but we'd have a break, and we can also provide waterproofs and warm clothing. So we've actually literally just this week we've had a shipment from Rohan, which is an outdoors company. We've partnered up with them, and they've given us this thing called Gift My Gear, and they've given us a whole load of kit,
Right.
proof some waterproof jackets and all that kind of stuff, and we're able to give those to participants and volunteers who need,
Right.
you know, so that they, because one of the big problems is people don't have the right gear, and then it stops them coming, and that's not, you know, in a wet, cold Lancashire day, you know, you might not think you want to be outside, but you do want to be outside.
Yeah, and also it's not gear that's particularly strange, or it's just maybe just a nice warm coat that's waterproof that you
Exactly.
would provide, and maybe footwear that's maybe something different from, you know, that our members might just have trainers, so they might need something that's a bit more hard wearing.
Yeah, for some of our tasks, we might ask people to wear slightly more hard wearing shoes. Or there's, I mean, like Worden Park in Leyland, for example, is just a big bog fest at the moment.
Yeah.
It's quite hard. I mean, it's quite difficult to walk on in the park, because you just fall over if you're not wearing kind of good grippy shoes. So yeah, and those kind of things. So nothing like that. Hopefully, nothing like that would put people off. We also pay expenses, so for travel. So if people are getting the bus or driving or cycling even, we can pay mileage and bus fares up to £5 a day. So we don't want people to be out of pocket. And if people are worried about finding the sites, because some of our sites are a bit, they're not exactly remote, but they're a bit maybe tucked away or a bit harder to find, then we can do lots of things, like we can ask volunteers to go and meet them.
Yeah, that would be another issue with it. Like, I know my sense of direction is terrible, and it's a general thing with dyspraxics. We struggle to find our way around places.
Yeah.
So that would be really helpful.
Yeah, and also things like especially in more normal times, when I was doing the first initial meeting, I can come out to people as well. So not to somebody's house, but to a local cafe, to them or something. So the first time they meet can be in their territory. Hopefully they will feel confident, and then we can bring them over to our green space.
Yeah.
So we can also do training. So we can do formal training in kind of environmental stuff like conservation or surveying wildlife, that kind of thing. A sort of a course, we can offer a course for that now for anyone over the age of 16, where they get a qualification.
So if somebody was looking to get into that area of work, or just looking to sort of add to their CV, that would be a really useful thing, and they feel like they're actually achieving something.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I mean, it's one we've only just developed it, but I think it's fairly likely that it's called Wildworks, and it's basically, I don't know if you might have heard of AQAs. I don't know, they're a bit.
Yeah.
There's a qualification that's I don't know exactly what they are. I should know what they are, but I don't. Anyway, and it's a qualification, and basically we've kind of designed this course using about six AQA units called Wildworks. And yeah, we can either offer it as a standalone course for people to do over 6 weeks, or we can offer it if they join a regular session, then we can definitely do bits of that course while they're in that session. So there's lots of opportunities to get some qualifications or something to add to your CV.
Yeah.
We also the funding is we're funded through various different pots, but one of the places we're funded through is this project called More Positive Together, which is the employment side of things. So that's it's a partnership project that's run by Active Lancashire and it's all to do with helping people back on their journey towards work. It doesn't mean that we're pushing people into getting a job. It just means that we're helping people build those skills to feel like they might be ready to look looking. And because we work with a lot of people who really aren't ready to get a job, but they want to be in a better mind place to kind of maybe get some work or some training or or volunteering, that kind of thing. So for that funding, because we've got that funding, we've got opportunities to work with lots of different partners across Lancashire that are offering other employment stuff as well. So we've got lots of different connections basically. So
there's things that if people wanted other opportunities, you could sort of signpost them in the right direction. Exactly. Yeah, it sounds absolutely great. So, Sally, as you spoke a bit before about your sort of experience, so I'd be really interested to hear sort of your experiences, because obviously you've experienced MyPlace for yourself, and
yeah. Well, I'd struggled quite a lot with anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
And so when I first came on the project, that's where I was, in that sort of place. And it's certainly given me a lot of confidence as time's gone on. I saw it quite early on. You know, people are very accepting and non-judgmental, and it's amazing how everybody supports each other. Even on the Zoom calls, people are really supportive. You know, if someone's not having a good day, then everybody's talking to them and helping them to feel better. So yeah, it's a very supportive environment. And you do learn a lot of new skills. And I think I was worried, when I first joined, I think I was worried that you would need to know a lot. You know, like I didn't know anything about wildlife, or I didn't know the names of wildflowers, or, you know, I was really a complete beginner. But it doesn't matter at all. Like Jenny says, you just sort of learn as you go along. Everybody learns together. And obviously some people are more interested than others in, you know, the details about the environment, but some people enjoy woodworking more, some people enjoy walking more. Everybody has a different, you know, a different likes and dislikes, but it really doesn't matter. It does cater for very different people.
So was there anything like a specific, if you don't, no, thank you very much for like all that, because I appreciate your honesty on this. I know sometimes it can be really difficult to talk about those things. So, you know, I think it really help our members to sort of be able to see this, because a lot of them, you know, have had their own struggles with mental health, because having any sort of neurodiverse condition can sometimes you just struggle functioning in the world sometimes. So it feels like a bit of a, so was there anything, was there anything specific that you've really sort of, like a point in the project you thought, oh, you know, I can see how things have improved, or, you know, a particular thing that really helped you?
I think the main thing that helped me was the fact that people are so supportive, because it sort of restores your faith in human nature that people are like that. And it is good to see everybody supporting each other, and to make you, it does make you feel that you've achieved something. You know, as Jenny said, I think all our participants were building something from pallets, and you know, because it was coming up to Christmas, a couple of people were building Christmas trees. And it's incredible how everyone feels, you know, so proud of what they've done. You know, we took pictures and they showed us pictures afterwards of how they looked in their homes and when they'd been decorated and everything. And I think people felt, you know, when you finish a project like that, even if it's a very simple project, you do get a big sense of achievement.
I know it's great when I've been involved in any sort of projects where you just go out for a day and do something. It's like, even if it's just clearing an area or something, it just feels so satisfying when you can see it and you think, I've done that. You know, so thank you, Sally. I've really, you know, it's really helpful. So can you tell me a little bit more about like the online stuff that you do? You know, I know there's the Minecraft stuff was a thing that I saw most of, but I know you do quite a lot of other stuff, don't you?
Yeah, so yeah, the Minecraft stuff's really new. It's only been going for about a month, but it's going well. And the idea was that we were finding that young people last year during lockdown 1 weren't really engaging with the online stuff, and we think it's probably because there was too much on in their own lives from school and stuff to then come on to do an online session with us. And also they were really struggling with the fact that they had to look at themselves. I mean, you know, no one really likes that, looking at yourselves in the camera.
No.
It was, you know, it's understandable. But we needed to find a way to kind of engage young people, because we knew that they were struggling, and that, you know, we knew that we could do some good stuff with them. So we kind of thought about what we could do, and thought maybe we could use Minecraft. A couple of our staff members are into it and can use and understand it, which helps.
It's over my head.
Exactly, completely. So the idea is that they meet again. It's a young person's hub officially, but again, not really any reason why we couldn't. If there were older adults that wanted to join in, that probably wouldn't be a major problem.
So what's the age limit on that? Is there a sort of like lower age limit?
At the moment, it's 16 to 24.
Yeah.
But I think again, if there was a big demand from older people, then I think we would look at and running a session. It's not, it wouldn't be a problem.
Would you go you're not going any younger than 16 at the moment? It's just 16
moment, not with the gaming one. I think we felt we needed to try it with the 16 plus to start with.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
About safeguarding issues and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The idea is that they make a world in Minecraft, a natural world, and then they kind of build it. So they've been doing stuff with chickens. I'm not quite sure, making trees. I don't really know. I'm not into Minecraft, but it's been going well, and it has been engaging the young people, and it seems to be popular. So that's been good. And the idea really is that we try to encourage them to have an interest in the natural world, and then hopefully transfer that outside at some point, either through their own learning or through us, depending,
Yeah.
And then our other online sessions, they're really interesting, because the ones that have been going so there's been a couple, or maybe about 3 or 4 that have been going for the whole year now, and they've been running a whole year, and they are really good online sessions. The guys that run them are really good at doing them, and they really they're always themed around something. So usually, well, Sally, what's Mike done? Oh, Mike's been off, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he's the last thing we did. We looked, for example, at animal tracks when it was snowing. We looked at different types of animal tracks and how to identify them, like animals and birds.
Wow.
What we could see in the snow. We've looked at signs of spring is one of the things that we've been looking at. How to identify different buds on the trees and different new flowers coming through, so that we can look out for signs of spring.
And it's amazing, even if you live in a really urban area, how much nature there is when you start looking.
It is.
Because I know some people might think, oh, I live on a terrace street and there's industry around me, I've got no nature at all. It's nature will come through, won't it?
Yeah.
That's what we try to sort of encourage people to see and to notice. And I mean, the nice thing about the online sessions is, like I said, there's always this sort of theme around them, which is usually some sort of seasonal theme or relevant theme to what's happening in the world. But that's very flexible. So if the group are having a week where they actually just want to talk, we can do that. That's not a problem, Or if, we play quite a lot of games, if people want to, but again, they don't have to, do quizzes and stuff. But again, that's always voluntary. And they're kind of, it's not death by PowerPoint. So people do use PowerPoint, but it's not only that. There's activity. The project officers, the staff encourage people to actually make stuff as well if they can, if they've got the resources at home and if they're interested. So we make stuff that we can, so like things like bird feeders and stuff, we might encourage people to
right.
And we would, if people are struggling to get resources, then we can drop them off or we can post them and that kind of thing.
Right.
But again, it's not lots of people, some people take part in that. I really like that and really kind of actively doing it.
So this is maybe something they could do if they've got children, or with a partner. It's something to do together.
But also, it's quite often, we often find that some people like to do it during a session and they get really into it. Then other people just watch during the session and then go home and go away and sort of absorb it and then do it. And we can send the instructions, or most of the time it's really helpful. So
that would be really helpful actually, because for our members, sometimes following a process can be, or remembering a process can be tricky. So actually, if you can send out instructions afterwards, or recording, that would be really helpful. So
and then so we also, the other thing we try to do is we try to tailor all of our sessions across the outside and online. We try to tailor them towards what's happening in the real world. So, like for example, there's a lot of stuff going on at the moment about peat bog recovery and trying to stop people using compost. And we will try to run online sessions that kind of talk about that and why that's important. And then we'll try to make sure that if we're using compost outside on a practical session, it's peat free and all that. And we'll figure out, we'll ask people to help us discover where they can buy that kind of compost and all that kind of thing. So we're trying to marry it up with what's actually happening in the real world, so people feel like part of a bigger thing, and that it's not.
Because I know for myself that I have to feel like I'm doing some good. It makes you feel a bit better about yourself if if you're sort of involved with something where you think, oh yeah, this is having some positive impact, even on this little bit of the world that I live in.
That's exactly it. That's exactly. We're trying. I mean, I've been trying to encourage my Leyland guys to become nature advocates, and we're going to stand in Worden Park and help. We're going to stand in Worden Park looking at something really intently, encourage people to come over and ask us what it is, and then we'll be able to go, this is what it is, and they'll be so impressed that we know what it is.
Sounds ace.
They're all terrified, but I'm like, no, you can all do it. You can all. We've spent being online learning about certain small, you know, like there's one flower that I've said, right, let's learn that one, or one tree or something like that. And it's all about, if we're passionate about something, then other people become passionate about something.
Yeah. So enthusiasm's like infectious, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, one of the things we've discovered, which is, it's when you're in, is that a lot of people don't really value nature, or they don't know they value nature. They don't really see themselves as people who like wildlife or being outside, and it's hard to understand that when you're so immersed in it. But what I think what it is that people just don't spend enough time thinking about it. You know, they don't see the beauty in it. They don't appreciate. They think they just don't see it. Like you said, they might walk down their street and just think there's nothing green here. If they just look down between the cracks, they'd see green flowers, and okay. So it's trying to and the thing about the good thing is that we know, as the studies have said, that people's well-being, mental health improves by being outside. So if we can help them in their mental health if we can help nature through helping their own mental health, then everyone's a winner, and hopefully that will encourage them to realize they like nature.
Yeah. I mean, I know very little about nature, but I do feel better being out and about in it and feeling like I'm doing something positive for it. It's the thing is, with something like climate change, we all feel, oh my goodness, there's nothing I can do about it, it's too big. But actually it's little things, little changes in your own life, little things you can do locally, and it all adds up. You know, it might seem like nothing, but it all adds up.
Absolutely. That's it. I mean, that's exactly what we are trying to help people kind of discover, really, that even by joining an online session, for example, you might think, oh, I'm not doing anything else, I'm not doing anything for the environment, but you are, because you're taking an active part in learning about something that's going to help the wildlife and nature and the environment, which you hopefully will then either tell somebody else about, which will encourage them to do something, or you might go and do something, even if it's just, you know, switching to a recycled something, or not throwing that bottle away, or not mowing your grass too much, or whatever it is. And you know, all the small things that we can do that really.
I mean, one thing I've got an app on my phone, a free app, and you go when I do like my sort of walks and just see a bit of wildlife, so you'll see a flower or something and you take a picture of it, and it tells you what it is, and it basically sends it into local research groups just to say what flowers and plants are in the local area, so they have a better idea what's around there. So it's that sort of what they call citizen science, isn't it? So that's a really simple thing, and actually just by being more aware of it, and actually you concentrate, you can see it's not just a grey street, there's a bit of colour there and a bit of colour there, and it just opens your world up.
Yeah.
Is that app iNaturalist by any chance?
It is, yes. Just to give it a bit of a plug.
But that's exactly it. And I mean, every single thing we do in our outside sessions, obviously, the Lancashire Wildlife Trust and all the wildlife trusts are pushing this thing called Nature's Recovery Network. And the idea is that we're trying to create big swathes of the country that are connected naturally, so that wildlife can move between those areas safely and not get hurt, damaged, destroyed. So that can be through big swathes of countryside, or big swathes of, I mean, motorways are big nature recovery networks because they've got those big long stretches of middle bit. But there's also small things, gardens, local parks, verges. I mean, you know, verges are really important. Plant pots that are on those verges, you know, those kind of things. All those little sections of nature and wildlife and natural environment is a part of that network, and everything we do will try and feed into that. And that, so if you're part of a project, if you're part of our project, or you're volunteering with the Wildlife Trust, or you're coming along to one of our sessions, you'll be contributing towards nature's recovery, which is really hugely important.
Yeah, I know one of the things that I've done is I'm lucky enough to have a nice sized back garden, but which neither me and my husband are gardeners. But there's some great advice from the Wildlife Trust about how to make it more diverse, how to attract wildlife. And it's things like, we talk about the bees disappearing. There's loads of little things that don't cost anything. You can make a pond out of an old plastic bucket and a bit of lining. And before you know it, I know people have had like, oh, I've got frogs visiting and I've got this, that and the other. And, it's just great to see that sort of, that little bit is just helping the world in just a tiny little way.
Definitely. And I mean, hopefully that, I think one of the things is that people, if it's not there, people will really, I think they'll miss it,
Yeah.
So we need to protect it. And by doing that, we're protecting ourselves. We're looking after ourselves, because it really does make you feel good. We're very lucky to work, to be part of this project. Everyone in it is lovely. And I know,
and you have many years experience working in charity, coordinating charity projects and things, haven't you? I know it goes back quite a number of years. So. Yeah. And I certainly, from knowing you, you seem really, really happy doing this. So it certainly makes a difference to you, from what I can see.
Oh yeah, it's a dream. It's a dream job. But
yeah.
it's because of the people around. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant thing. Every single participant that comes through the project comes for different reasons. Hopefully, gets something out of it. Brings something, gives something to me as much as we give them to them, and it's just ace. And I'd just say to people, have a go. We've got like you say, you can join up and just have a go on the online session. You just get in touch, and we can set you up with trying an online session at any point.
Is there a particular types of if you like particular people that you're looking at, or can anybody join the sessions? Or
anybody can join. We have different groups for young people and older people.
Yeah.
We have different funding if you're out of work or you're in work, but basically anybody can join, because we've got both sets of funding for people who are in work and out of work.
Yeah,
you can join, and we will kind of steer people towards the bit of paperwork they need to sign up to the project, but they don't have to sign that paperwork until they've had a go.
Yeah.
Once they have signed the paperwork, they can still not come. I mean, we like people to come. But if they don't want to, they're having a bad week, that's absolutely fine. One of the things we would say, I suppose, is that we'd ask people to let us know if they can, partly because obviously it helps us plan with our sessions, and partly because it's good for them to kind of stick to that routine, and it's a good kind of skill to make sure that you're using good communication skills. It helps, we are able to give references to people for if they want to have, for jobs and that kind of stuff. And obviously the more reliable people, and I don't mean turning up, but in communication ways, the better reference they're going to get.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, if you've put the effort in and you've involved with it, so it sounds like you can do lots of different types of things, whatever suits your strengths and your interests.
Yeah. Hopefully we will find a session that's local to you, that's going to suit you. If there isn't one that's local to you, you might have to be online for a little while, or for depending on how long. We're getting new funding all the time, so new sessions kind of come online quite a lot. Come into play a lot. But yeah, we actively encourage people to try everything, but if they like specific things, we will help them make it brilliant.
That's great. I mean, I'm just aware we're nearly up to like 10 to 8, so I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say, either of you, and maybe bring it to a close if you wanted.
I guess the big thing for me is just if you want to find out more, the best way to do it is look at our website, Lancashire Wildlife Trust /MyPlace. I would say follow us on, if you're a social media user, then follow the Facebook page, Twitter or Instagram, because you'll get a really good idea of what the sessions are like, because we up every day. One of the project officers so we're in charge of putting our own social media on, as well as we've got so every day the project officers put on something that's happened in their sessions. You'll get a really good variety of things that have been happening over the last few months.
Yeah, and if anybody wants me to, I'm quite happy to refer people if people don't like online forms. You know, I'm happy to do that, or you know, I can put you in contact with anybody from the project if you're struggling to get on websites and things. But yeah, just yeah, I think it's a fantastic project. You know, so just sign up.
Thank you very much for your support, Jo. It's really appreciated.
No problem. No, I think it's a great project. I wouldn't have invited you otherwise. I'm just I'm sorry that no, you know, bit sort of low on attendance, but I think this was quite useful. So we'll send out the recording, and you know, and people can see it in their own time. And I'll send out like we'll get an email out just to let people know how they can sign up and things.
Yeah, great. I'll stop recording then.
Yeah.